are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spurs fans definitely had a bad reaction to the Spurs' new alternate logos, but it's time to get the reasons why the backlash was so severe from the fan base itself. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kins 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, we're going to be discussing those logos again. Spurs fans are still talking about it. And would you believe it's already popping up at Ross department stores? Yeah. Why did Spurs fans have a backlash? Why was it just so, they just tore them logos apart. We're also going to be looking at what are fans thinking when it comes to Zach LaVine or DeAndre Ayton. If the Spurs fan base was GM for a day and they had to pick one, who would they spend their money on? To do that and more on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, I'm joined by Danny Sanders, longtime guest here when it comes to repping the Spurs fan base. Danny, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Always good to be back, Jeff. Always good to hang with you. Always good to talk Spurs. Always good to talk life in general. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. And make sure to follow Danny on Twitter at Danny Sanders 80. Do it right now. Great follow. Loves to talk Spurs and much, much more. Danny, it's kind of hard for us to start this show without bringing up kind of like just what happened yesterday out in Texas, specifically Uvalde, Texas. It's impacting the sports world. It impacted the Spurs. Basically, if you do not know, there was a mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. More than, I believe, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like now 20 people or more than 20 have been found shot and dead after a lone gunman, 18-year-old, went to the elementary school and took the lives of many. Danny, the Spurs had a reaction. They released a statement saying their thoughts are with the families that suffered or suffering in this tragedy. Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, Trey Jones, all of them, spoke out. Even former Spur Steve Kerr, he definitely had a reaction when he refused to talk about the game. It was a game, the fourth game in their series against the Mavericks, and focused more on the tragedy. Danny, man, your thoughts on what just happened yesterday?
Jeff, it was obviously tragic. I'm actually out of town, out in West Texas for work, and I started getting alerts, I think around like maybe noon time, maybe 1 o'clock. And at first, like with anything that happens like that, you start hearing all these reports, and I for the most part, I pretty much use Twitter as my news source. So you see all of these different reports about the gunman being in custody, and there weren't any children shot and killed, and then later on you see that that's wrong. And I think in any of those instances, especially as a parent, a father of three, you right away think about your own kids.
Yeah,
it was tragic. It really was. It was one of those issues where you really do. You hate to say this, but it sometimes takes events like that to kind of center you and bring you back to just an understanding that life is short, and I think we take things for granted too often, to where it was very unfortunate and unfortunate that those little lives were lost, and they won't be able to experience the joy of life and everything that has in it. And I definitely appreciated seeing Steve Kerr's comments, and I think I even retweeted that and made some comments of my own, because changes definitely need to be made for sure.
Yeah.
And I own guns, and I wouldn't call myself a gun advocate, but I definitely as someone who has been threatened before with my own life. I understand the necessity of guns, but at the same time, something has to get done, because no child should be in fear of ever losing their life. No person should be in fear of ever losing their life just to go to school or church or the grocery store. So definitely you hate to do the whole cliche, our thoughts and prayers are with the families. They obviously are, but at the same end, I'm hoping that our elected officials are doing more today.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was on the fence, Danny, about doing a Locked On Spurs show for today. As a matter of fact, the network even got a hold of me to say, look, if I don't want to, I didn't have to. But here we are. I figure we address it. And it hit close to home. Uvalde, Texas, I believe, Danny, it's about 80 miles outside of San Antonio, a little southwestish. Yeah,
an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's not very
yeah.
far at all.
Yeah, so it's very close to San Antonio, and as a matter of fact, that is an area that the Spurs, are cultivating the fan base. Everybody knows that they're trying to expand their fan base. Uvalde definitely fits into that, aim that they're aiming for. So, and there's a lot of Spurs fans out in Uvalde, and it was just really touching to see not only the Spurs but the players themselves. They mentioned Lonnie Walker. He put on social media his thoughts. Trey Jones as well, Devin Vassell. Even LeBron James, mentioned something about it. But yeah, it was a difficult decision, whether to proceed or take a day off from Locked On Spurs. But we figured Danny and I could address it and just let everybody know that our thoughts are with the families in Uvalde. It was a tragic scene. I didn't realize just how. I mean, I saw the reports and it was leading up to it, but I thought it was just one of those contained situation, like, oh, okay, they found a kid, threatening, but nothing more than that. And then as the day was progressing, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is bigger than just a simple threat here. And I was like, oh my. And then it wasn't towards the end of the night where everything started coming to light, and so the amount of deaths out there. But you want to go to kensfi.com right now. There's many services that are happening in San Antonio as far as if you want to help. And if you do live in the South Texas, San Antonio area, Kensfi has a list of, blood, where you can go donate blood. You can drop off supplies, just ways to make an impact and try to help the families as they're trying to cope with this. But hopefully this is not a consistent thing. But man, in today's world, Danny, I mean, and aren't we just coming off another shooting in upstate New York, in the supermarket?
In Buffalo,
so
the week before
in
last,
Buffalo, yeah. So definitely, be careful out there, everybody.
Just real quick, I mean, just kudos to you, because I mean, it could have been really easy for you to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take a day off, and I mean, it wouldn't have been the wrong decision either. But I mean, let's face it, right? Who's listening to these podcasts? It's Spurs fans. It's people that we interact with on Twitter. We all
Spurs
have opinions.
Fans probably in Uvalde,
with South Texas. Yeah, absolutely. And there's only ever going to be change with this if we continue the dialogue. If we stop talking about it, if we stop addressing it, if we become desensitized to this, and I mean, it's hard not to, right, at this point, because literally 3 mass shootings have occurred in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I mean, it's hard to not become a little desensitized to it, in the sense that you just hear about it in the news. But as long as we continue the dialogue and then talk about it, and as long as we continue to say, hey, this cannot stand, this cannot continue, and especially whenever it comes to kids. I mean, all lives matter, right? I mean, they do. I'm not wanting to make a political thing about that. I'm saying all lives matter, but especially whenever you talk about children. I mean, children, they're not to go all 80s pop song on you, but they are our future, right? I mean, and as a parent, whenever you think about your child, I literally cannot think about functioning or going on in my own life if anything ever happened to any of my kids. So I mean, I can't even imagine the terror that the parents felt yesterday and today, and for a very long time. So keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Keep bringing it up, because that's the only way we're going to change anything.
Yeah, and be careful out there. Be safe, everybody. And again, kens5.com has all the information you need if you want to make an impact. And all right, well, we're going to go ahead and continue our discussion now about your silver and black. Again, Spurs fans definitely had a reaction. It was not good. when the Spurs announced a trio of new alternate logos. We're going to find out why. Why did the fans have such a bad reaction? And much, much more in this episode of Locked On Spurs. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about Built Bar. They got themselves a new bar called the Brownie Batter Puff. Look, I love brownies, and I think a lot of people love brownies. Well, imagine eating a brownie in a puff protein bar form, and it actually tastes like a batter brownie. That's what's really good about Built Bars. They put taste first, deliciousness first, and then they try to figure out, okay, how we're going to make this healthy for you. So basically, just think of these Built Bars as protein-infused marshmallowy bars covered in 100% chocolate. And it's made of collagen protein, so it absorbs faster into your system, so it's healthy for you. Look, with only just 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar, the new Brownie Batter Puffs are the perfect pick-me-up for any day. As a matter of fact, Danny, I had one right before we started this fan episode with you. So they're definitely delicious. They're very, very good. As mentioned, covered in 100% real chocolate. You can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. The Brownie Batter Puffs will have you completely forgetting that you're eating a protein bar. As he said, no need to pinch yourself. This is real life. Go to Built.com. Get the Brownie Batter Puffs now. Again, Built.com. Use promo code LOCK15. That'll get you 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, well, we're now back with Danny Sanders after he gives us his brownie update. And we're going to be now asking him to rep the fan base, give us the reasons why the Spurs fans Danny, they just hated those logos, didn't they? Well, for those of you who don't know, the Spurs will be celebrating their 50th anniversary next season. And they're slowly rolling out celebration things, So right now, for example, the 50th logo, very nice, big 5-0, gold, black. Okay, cool. Likely going to happen a reunion game in the Alamo Dome. Nothing official, but that's all signs are pointing to that. The worst kept secret right now among Spurs fans, they will bring back the ABA jerseys. It's already been leaked. But there's, you see where they're going. They're building it up. So they said, hey, here's 3 new alt logos. One is the state of Texas with the spur kind of jutting like into it, and the star spur landing on the San Antonio area. Then there's another one that was like basketball, and it just says SATX for San Antonio, Texas. And then just one without the basketball, and it says SATX with the spur underneath the A. Wow, Danny. Spurs fans hated them, didn't they?
They did, and they had a very strong reaction to it. And I honestly, I was traveling that day, so I was getting off a plane, and I happened to catch it. And I actually had to go. I wanted to make sure that the logos were actually coming from the Spurs accounts, because I was like, this can't. I mean, this isn't real, right? This is.
Didn't believe it. Yeah. It definitely, that was the vibe among the Spurs fans. Yeah, they were like, "What did we just see?"
This isn't something that our San Antonio Spurs are putting out as a 50th anniversary alternate logo. But here's the thing, and this is why I think we had such a strong reaction to it, because we all know, right? I mean, I think I want to say especially for the last 3 or 4 seasons, the Spurs kind of got bullied into going back to the Fiesta colors. I mean, I think they even kind of made a joke about it by having different tweets posted about how they need to go back to Fiesta colors, and they were really getting pushed for that. And finally, 2 seasons ago, we got those glorious black jerseys with the Fiesta colors, and I think that those were, they were great. I mean, they were total fire. Definitely better than the ones last year. I wasn't too crazy about the ones last year, but anyway, we all know, aside from the Fiesta colors, a lot of us, most Spurs fans, they want to go retro. They want to go back to those old ABA George Gervin jerseys where they had San Antonio emblazoned on the front, and that's what they want. It really is. It's keep it simple, stupid, right? You don't need to go and do all these alternate logos, and I get it, right? At this point, it's to sell merchandise.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
You figure, hey, we'll get some alternate logos out there. Somebody will buy it. We'll sell a bit more merch over here. But you know what? If they keep it simple, give us the old black and silver jerseys with the San Antonio emblazoned in the front, like the way George Gervin's old jersey was.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
the
that
classic
jersey
look
is
that
coming back
we're
next
looking at.
season. That
Well,
jersey
yeah,
will be back.
yeah, and we're all excited about it, but it's like, give us more of that. Don't give us
Mhm.
alternate. Give us more of that. Give us more of what we're going to be doing with that. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think it comes down to, we all know that, yeah, we, even though we're getting it back, give us more of it. Let's see more of
Mhm.
it. Let's see more of that direction rather than the direction that we saw, where it looked like it was something out of the Cartoon Network, where, I mean, it just looked real generic. It looked really, really generic, and I mean, I was disappointed, I mean, to say the least, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of Spurs fans were.
Yeah, I agree with you. They were very basic. But if you look in the Spurs' past history with their alternate logos, they've been very much in the same vein. Remember that one failed one? I believe it was just a basketball and had the letter S and the A at the top, at the bottom.
Yes, yeah.
They trotted it out and then it just
Mhm.
kind of like vanished. Like you never heard about it again. And you'll see it little once in a while pop up in some merchandise, but it never really was pushed in front of the fan base as these three were. You look even back in our day, Danny. Remember the I always call it the lost alternate logo. The time they try to splash like kind of like an emerald green in it. Wasn't it like
Yes.
a triangle behind the spur or a plus sign? It was something like that. And
That was back, like, around 2007, 2008-ish, I think. Yeah,
yeah,
they tried to pull that
and
one. Mhm.
they tried to pull that one off. I think it was on their shooting jerseys, but then again faded into history.
Mhm.
Now these are really being pushed out there. As a matter of fact, some fans are already sharing that some of the T-shirts with those new logos are already at Ross. Can you believe
Well, I
that,
mean, they have
Danny?
to be they have to be at Ross, because I'm sure that by this weekend, especially it being a 3-day weekend, we're gonna see it down on South Florida's. We're gonna see it down on Military. I mean, some kind of jerseys that may or may not be licensed will have those new alternate logos in place and down there, saying,
What do you
with
think
the
they
Go
should have
Spurs, Go
done?
chants.
What do you think they should have just not do anything? Just leave it alone? Just no alternate
I
logos? Just stick to what they got, or what? I
Yeah,
mean, what could they
I
do?
mean, here's the thing, and I mean, obviously, we've been talking about the whole deal with the possibility of a move, and I mean, the 4 games and everything. And knowing full well we have, the NBA draft coming up in a little over a month, or about a month, right?
Mhm,
They want to still be in the conversation. They have to be. They have to be in the conversation, especially because they're doing now the luncheons and it right now for the season ticket holders. They still want to
mhm,
draw attention for that. They still want to draw new season ticket holders in. They have to stay a part of the conversation. So they decided, hey, because of that, let's go ahead and let's throw out these alternate logos. It'll spark something, right? It may not
mhm,
it may not have sparked the conversation that they wanted, but it's all about staying a part of the conversation right now. I think rather than doing that, yeah, less is more right now. Let's not go too extravagant as far as alternate logos, alternate jerseys. We know what we want. We want the black and silver, the old
mhm,
ABA ones that are coming back. Let's celebrate the 50th anniversary that way. Let's not start to get too creative and start doing the whole, like, I mean, it just looked really generic. I mean,
mhm.
that's really the best way I can put it. It looked really generic, and I think it was the wrong move. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not trying to be a hater here. I'm not. I mean, again, I make observations, and I think in this particular instance, they fell short.
Yeah, they definitely fell short with the fan base. Who knows? I don't think so, but I doubt the Spurs will recall them and try again. I think
Yeah, I don't think so.
Spurs fans who were smart with this one. I think they what the San Antonio Spurs should have done is just have a basic fan contest. Like, hey
Yeah.
fans, we're looking at an alternate logos. We need three of them. The top three designs win, and congratulations, you're a big winner. Here's your cash prize. Here's a jersey. You get first dibs. Something. I think that would have been the route to go. And Spurs fans already been tweaking the new logos. Some of them are more improved, incorporating the Fiesta colors. But yeah, Spurs fans did not like it. That is 100% sure. But we're not done talking about your silver and black. When we get back, we're to be asking Danny if fans were the GM for a day and they had all that money they could spend, as the Spurs do right now in the offseason, would they throw it at Zach LaVine, Ayton, or none of the above? But before we do that, I want to talk to you about Bet Online. Look, our partners at Bet Online continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and much, much more. They already have odds on Becky Hammond will return to the NBA and be a head coach. They have odds on the Pop will be back next season. I go to them whenever I need my futures or props. You want to head to the website today. That's Bet Online. Use your mobile device. Look, you got a cell phone, you got a laptop, you got a tablet. Use them. Go to Bet Online. Learn more about the trends in action. Bet Online, where the game starts. We are back with Danny Sanders on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Now, make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletters is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and, of course, big boards. Spurs fans are definitely looking at mock drafts right now with 3 first-round picks. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Danny, we're in the thick of things in the offseason, and Spurs fans love to play GM, don't they? Oh my God. I mean, they think it's
Just a
NBA
little.
2K League sometimes, and they think, okay, they're thinking like, here's Lonnie Walker and Joe Wieskamp for Luka Doncic. Make it happen. I mean, is that crazy? But nevertheless, look, the Spurs are, I believe, the second team in the league right now with the most cap space. I think it's the Knicks. I think, or the Knicks or the Blazers, one of the two. But the point is the Spurs have a lot of money to spend on free agents, and they can hand out at least one max deal. And the names right now that are being reported and rumored linked to San Antonio, center DeAndre Ayton out of Phoenix, and Bulls Zach LaVine. We saw DeJounte Murray. I wouldn't even call it low key. Recruiting, high key recruiting Zach LaVine to San Antonio as soon as the season was over. Nevertheless, Spurs fans are definitely debating about this. Ayton or LaVine, which one is it? Danny, if you could put on your GM hat for the day, who would get that money if you're GM? And who do you think the Spurs fan base would give the money to if they were GM?
So I've thought about that one, and obviously, I mean, I like putting my GM cap on frequently whenever it comes to the Spurs and talking about it on Twitter. But here's the thing: I'm not crazy about either of them. I'm really not. I mean, obviously, either of them would be an upgrade to what we have now because I think I've been saying it for a while. We are talent deficient. We need talent. We need more talent, and you can see the talent gap whenever we play more talented and better teams. We're outclassed consistently. So, I mean, either of them would be an upgrade, right? But whenever you're thinking about this team and you're thinking about the young core and where we want to go and where we want to be in 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years, you have to obviously, I mean, you can't make mistakes. And I think I've been saying that now for a while. This team can't miss, which is still why I always rail why. I mean, they chose Samanic a few years ago,
right,
with that, and wasted that pick essentially when they could have had at least 2 or 3 other picks that sure they wouldn't have been game changers, but they would have been assets, and we could have turned those assets into something, if not a productive player, maybe another draft pick. So I mean, but I don't want to belabor that point. So we cannot miss. We cannot miss in the draft. We cannot miss in free agency. We cannot waste our money and use it frivolously. So we're gonna have to be smart about it. But here's what I think it comes down to for me. When you think about our team and you think about our deficiencies this past year, sure, we always need a scorer, right? I mean, DeJounte, I think for the most part was our primary scorer, our best all around player. I think Devin kind of came up towards the end there. Keldon obviously throughout the year. So we could always use a more punch in scoring. Rebounding was really our big issue. I mean, we gave up so many offensive rebounds over and over and over and over again. But then I think about it. I mean, yeah, Aiton's a big man, right? I mean, he's 7 foot whatever, 6'11", and he's young. I think he's 22. I'm not mistaken, 22, 23. but he's not like a ferocious rebounder. It's not like we're going to get him and expect him to bring down like 15 or 16 rebounds a game. He's more
Do you kind of get that already with Pirtle?
You
Don't you kind of get that with
do.
Pirtle already?
Yeah, you do. You really do. And even though, I mean, I'm not a huge Pirtle fan. I mean, I definitely turned the corner with him this past year, and I felt like he turned the corner a little bit. But I mean, again, like he didn't cut the muster, right? And ultimately, I think I said it during the season. He's a backup. That's what he is. He should be a backup, and on a really good team, he's probably the second backup on a really good team. So I mean, I think we've squeezed all the juice out of him that we can. So if you're asking me between Ayton and LaVine, who do we use our money on? And looking at our team, I think what the smart move would be this, because based solely on age, right? Because I think LaVine's like 27 or 28, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a little older.
Aiden's a kid. Aiden has that Greg Oden effect, though. He looks older than his age.
He does. He looks older. I mean, he's born in Jamaica, so I mean, who knows? He might be older. I don't know how I don't know how the record keeping's kept over there in Jamaica, but I mean, he might be. But I think what we do is we offer the max to him, all right, to Ayton, based solely on age and need. If we had a different looking team, I would say LaVine, because then there's also this, and follow me in this one. I don't know if you saw this. I forgot to send it to you, but there's rumors now, reports coming out about possibly the NBA announcing a new expansion teams. I think in 2 years, right? Las Vegas and Seattle. Did you catch that?
Right. No, I did not catch that. What's up?
Well, I mean, here's my thought. We all know, and I think I've said it before, if Seattle gets a team back, I think DeJounte's gone. I think he goes back to Seattle, and I don't blame him. Okay, that's fine. I mean,
He's
I
gonna pull a
don't.
Kawhi Leonard.
Well, and here's the thing, it wouldn't be like Kawhi, because I mean, Kawhi was just a snake. I mean, he just didn't. I mean, he blamed the organization. I mean, he basically quit on us. I don't think DeJounte would do that, but I do think DeJounte would say, "Hey, I'd like to go back home," and I think the Spurs will probably oblige him, especially because, again, if we're looking at timelines, time frames, and everything, he's a little older than maybe some of our younger guys, but by about 3 or 4 years. But LaVine's from Seattle too. And yeah, DeJounte did pull that Photoshop, about a month ago now, with having LaVine in Spurs jersey, and I think he is kind of recruiting him. But if maybe they sniff, hey, Seattle might get a team here in 2 or 3 years, maybe they do say, hey, we can join right now, or we can join later, and you should go back home. And maybe LaVine's fine where he is in the Chicago market, where it's the third or fourth largest market in the U.S. And sure, I mean, he might be playing behind DeRozan a little bit, but we know, I mean, unless something substantial happens, I mean, the Bulls are kind of capped off at who they are. They're a first round exit team, is what they are. So yeah, I mean, I kind of think that ultimately, they might play themselves out of town anyway, based on there being a Seattle team. So with that being the case, yeah, I would probably trust putting my money more on Ayton because of his age, because of the potential, because of his size, and I think him working with David and Tim and some of our development guys, I mean, they could maybe turn him into something more than what he's been with the Suns. So that's what I would do. But what I'm hoping happens is actually this. I'm hoping we end up drafting a big man in the draft. Either, I mean, it would be great getting Keegan Murray or Terry Eason or someone like that we can kind of solidify that front court with a player that way, rather than spending it in the draft. That way we continue to be more flexible. That way we can maybe do some trades or something, and maybe bring some cap space in to where we can absorb that, to where it would fit our needs a little bit better.
Yeah, you're looking at Zach LaVine's fair market value. This is via Profit TX. He's asking in the range of, well, his fair market value is about 25 million to 34 million. That's the range for him. DeAndre Ayton and his agent have come out and made it public that they are looking for a max deal. So, Suns, it's not a good sign when one of your better players and his agent are out there in public demanding a max deal. All signs are likely pointing to his exit. Vegas, Danny, has the Spurs pegged with the third best odds at landing a DeAndre Ayton behind the Pistons and I believe the Magic. And that probably changed because the Magic got the number 1 pick, but that was the last Vegas odds. Don't know if that pushes San Antonio up to maybe the second odd, but nevertheless, yeah, it's kind of I'm on the thing where I'm like, it's win-win, like, okay, you get Ayton, you address the need, the youth side of it, and a slight upgrade from Pirtle, slight.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, okay, but if you miss out and you get LaVine, okay, well, what's the thing the Spurs needed to pair DeJounte with? Another consistent 20 or more point scorer a night. Now credit Keldon, he came on late, but we need to see if he can sustain that for an entire year. But it's actually, it gives you at least 25 or more at minimum, sometimes at night. And that's something the Spurs needed. So we'll see. Yeah. And, but what do you think the Spurs fans would say if you had to put your fan base cap on? All in on Ayton, all in on LaVine, or none of the above?
I mean, I think it's a mixed bag. I've seen fans say both. Hey, I mean, we prefer Ayton over LaVine. I've seen other fans saying LaVine over Ayton. But I think the majority of the fans are probably like me as far as saying, hey, I mean, let's see who we can draft. Let's see who we can address our needs in the draft. I really, 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 really like Jeremy Sohan. I really hope that there's a way we can secure him. I think right now it seems like he's really moving up the draft board there at the combine. So I don't know if he's going to be available at 9. I don't know what our plans are as far as moving up in the draft potentially. I hope that that's still something that's being talked about because, like I've been saying since the season ended, all options need to be explored. All options need to be explored. No one should be untouchable. We've missed the playoffs now 3 years. It's not like we have an untouchable player at this point. All options need to be explored.
Absolutely. He is Danny Sanders. He is repping the fan base on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. Now, before we go and put a wrap on this episode of Locked On Spurs, I want to thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On NBA. From the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals, Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Danny, one more time, tell everybody how they can chat with you on social media.
At Danny Sanders 80. Yeah, definitely chat it up. I'm always open for a conversation. Definitely like debating. And I mean, just again with everything that's happened the last 24 hours or so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just be kind. Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind today.
By the way, everybody, I know this is pretty not a video, but Danny left his video on and I can see him working right now. It looks like he's in some emptied out house or office building, or that's your office?
Yeah, it's an office space here.
Yeah, it's his office. Yeah. He's looking very in work mode. He has his eyeglasses on. He has his hair slicked back. Looking sharp there, Danny. You're looking sharp there.
Always, can never tell who you might run into.
Exactly. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, and now on YouTube. And yeah, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Check out KENS5.com/Spurs. There's a big report out there, big rumor that Spurs owner Peter J. Holt is looking to purchase a soccer club, out in Mexico, separate and apart from Spurs Sports and Entertainment. So don't get all crazy, Spurs fans. But it's interesting to see that news and much, much more. So for Danny Sanders, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.